those are the ones you can print out. If you don't have printer, just draw different sizes of the squares on your any paper you have. And what you do first is cutting the window of those squares. Which window? You can cut all of these or some of these. Okay, so let me just cut this one for my case. I can just cut this. When you cut, make sure you are using some cardboard underneath so you don't cut your tabletop. Okay, if you, especially when you're using a X-Acto knife or something, be careful and not to cut the tabletop by having cardboard underneath. Each window is slightly different size. Depends on how big your drawing is. And maybe my drawing is big enough, so I'm gonna have relatively large windows to be open. But if your drawing is so small, you may cut some smaller ones, okay? And I can maybe cut one more big ones. All right, so next step is I want you to use one of your drawings over the weekend or in class drawing you did from flower, okay? And start to look through the window, okay? What you should do now is just going through this looking at your drawing through the window means you are just looking at only small part of your drawing, okay? If it's something big, sometimes entire flower become included, but if it's small, only part of the flower is included, okay? And what you do now is just move the windows around and how much you wanna include and how little you wanna include. But also, do I see something interesting shape? Do I see composition of different shapes, but looks like interesting composition of those shapes? Of course, it's going like that. Looks like too much of empty space, right? And maybe small portion of interesting shape, like big empty space, right? So of course you don't want to do that. You'd rather have more things. You can go like that, but sometimes something right in the middle scares me a little bit. Looks like it's vertical lines in the middle, divide the space. So I probably don't want to go like that. If I want to have something big, maybe rather just turn like this. Then looks like this is angular now, and something else is starting to be included and making interesting space in between. Okay, so you have to feel comfortable. You have to feel something pleasing by looking at those shapes within that square. Okay, let's move a little bit more, or should I just do very small portion? I kind of like that, what's going on. Maybe I want to have a little bit more included. I feel like this is way too much going on. Way too uneven, too even. Everything is, there's no place to rest my eye. So maybe it's good to have some quiet space somehow. I'm gonna crop more by using a smaller window. Okay, something like that. I mean, it's not necessarily something great, but I feel like something enough going on and something. Now I'm gonna temporarily just mark it, the corner. So kind of I remember. Okay. So this become my core design. Okay. Now I wanna trace this onto a paper, but for that purpose, maybe it's good to use a tracing paper. Okay. So let me just work with a tracing paper. First, I will tape this tracing paper to this window frame, the viewfinder. Like that, okay? Okay, and I can just cut this one out. Okay, so now this one has tape. And let's get back here. Okay, like that. And I can tape it here so it doesn't agitate. Okay, it may be helpful if you have a ballpoint pen or micron for tracing. Okay, so let's trace here shapes within that window frame. Okay, I can first I can trace the frame. Okay, and just trace the shapes within that square. Can you see it? All right, so I just traced design onto this tracing paper, right? Okay, now I like to make the 4 thumbnail sketches from this. Thumbnail sketch means they were basically they are small studies to try out different variation before you decide the final design. Okay, that is a final, that is thumbnail sketch. Thumb means what? Your thumb? Why they call it thumbnail sketch? I never get it. You guys know? I mean, it's not as broad as my thumb, but it's just basically small sketch. Thank you. So in order to repeat same design 4 times, you have to do something. Okay, if you have carbon paper or typewriter paper or something at home, of course that would be convenient. If not, using some dark pencil like 6B, okay, soft pencil like 6B, and you can shade on the back side. Make sure you're shading on the back side, okay? This is the front side, that's the back side, okay? If you shade on the front side, it doesn't work. If you have a HB or number 2 pencil, probably you can still do it, but may not be dark enough, okay? So it's good to use some soft pencil like 6B, or maybe 2B may work too. Okay, now let's make this one down on the drawing paper, okay? And my case, this is 3 inch by 3 inch. So let me mark 3 inches 4 times on my drawing pad. Okay, so that's 2 inch and 3 inch. Okay. So I just made 4 of the squares, and doesn't matter what's the margin between, doesn't matter, just as long as they are clearly separated, okay? My case is this 2 inch margin between top and bottom and side by side, okay? And place this one, it may help if you have so this is the front side. Okay, so my case, I'm trying to match up those lines here. And make sure that the graphite is on the back side, okay? Sometimes people don't think about it and then nothing happens. So just trace, probably better to use some ballpoint pen with a different color. In my case, I'm using red. Okay, so what I just traced is all down on this. Okay. I can do more times. Make sure you have enough graphite on back side of tracing paper. So number 3. Hold on, why I'm doing this tracing 4 times? Why I need more than 1? I'll be creating different, I will be making some variety of these from same shape. I mean, it can be more than 4. It can be, 5, 6 if you want to, but I think 4 is good. Why 4? There's no really strong reason for it, but if you have only 2 or 3, may not be enough variation you can make. So if you are using 2 different designs, 2 totally different designs, I will still ask you to do for each. Each time you do, probably it's good to have enough variation before making a final design. Okay, so right now I made 4 out of this, right? So the process is you'll be filling up with different shading. You may need Sharpie, and you may need some micron. Okay, if you feel like a little bit scary and you don't want to use those inks right away, you could be starting with, pencil to shade it, and then later you end up using the pens, right? Pencil, you can erase it, right? But let me just start to jumping with the Sharpie and micron pen, okay? Let's talk about what's expected. Of course, if you have a Sharpie, Sharpie can make something very dark, right? And if you have micron, drawing out. Micron, of course, you can make some dense hatching, right? Of course, denser make darker. If it's crisscross, it's even darker, right? You can think about different way of making things darker and lighter. Those dots called the stippling can make variation from dark to light as well, right? Or you can fill in with different texture with some patterns that also can be an option. So let's do something to this. Here I can think about making this background to be black. Okay, so maybe I can have this one. I can have entire background shapes to be dark. I like to start with dark shapes because that give a high contrast between white and black. Because paper is white. And you can easily think about dark background like this. For example, okay, this one kind of giving idea about, black can really separate between black and white. And maybe from this point, maybe some shape can be having a different shade. Actually, this stem can be dark stem. And maybe this shape here can have dots, stippling, rather than just hatching of vertical lines. All right, so I'm just working on the very first sketch right now, right? And you have to somehow keep going until you feel like something is completed. If you have two of the white shapes next to each other, maybe one has to be other than white. Okay, so I'm kind of giving a one kind of design here. Let's work on next one, which I want to differentiate from this, right? I don't want to make four of the same thing. So here, maybe I'm going to start with this to be black. You don't have to have a black, okay? If you feel like you don't want to have any black shape, that's fine. Okay, but I just feel like it's good to have black. In my case, black shape and white shapes, and also some textured shapes. My case, I like to have high contrast between white and black, but that's me. You don't have to. Some people just make without black. So in my case, I'm just doing totally different take on this design. I'm actually shading black to actually some parts of the flower. And starting to think about so right now, what you should be doing is, of course, you have to be watching my demo too, but also starting to cut the window, square windows try to have 2 or 3 different sizes of window and start to go through the window to look at what part of your drawing has interesting shapes. All right, so I don't like this one at all. This is some kind of feeling. I feel this is not as good as this one. Okay, but definitely I'm trying to make these two as different as possible. Other thing I want to talk about this stage is sometimes some people like this. Okay, some people like to outline everything with a contour line. Okay, some people like this strong contour line for every single shape. That's okay, okay? Or some people do not want to have any of those outline. You rather start to fill the all these shading without having any outline. It is called the implied shape, but I talk about this later. Without outline, you can start to fill in with some textures. That's also fine, okay? Or maybe you can do some combination. So there are a lot of variation you can think about between each design. That's what I'm expecting you guys to post and